Welcome back to a retro remake of Automania from Microgen. This is the game being played in an emulator. We're going to be making it in Unity, and in this video we're going to go through the process of setting up the graphics and the initial screen. And I've got some ideas to do with scriptable objects in this one. I haven't used them before in a project in the videos, so first time for everything. Let's get started. So I'm going to set up the project just now, and I'm going to bring in some of the sprites that I'm going to need to the project. And that is going to be in a nice little folder called art. So I'm going to create that here. And then just drag these things in here. So I need sprites, blocks, Wally week, and this test card here. And I'll show you what I'm going to use the test card for in a minute. So the test card is the standard British Broadcasting Corporation test card F, which features the girl and the clown, and they're playing noughts and crosses or tic-tac-toe on on a chalkboard. It's a classic of the 1970s and is fitting for the fact that we're going to have to do this. So why am I using this? Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that these are all sprites, they're all singles, and the pixels per unit is 1. And that's important because we want to have everything to be pixel perfect. I don't think it really matters about that, but it keeps... my plan for this project is that I'm going to try and keep this as close to the original feel as possible, which means I need pixel perfect movement. And the way I'm going to try and do that will unravel as we go on, but essentially I need it to be per unit. So it makes the math a little bit easier, and hopefully it makes the setup of the screens a little bit easier. I'm going to go into that in the sort of the mapping part of this, which is coming up soon. So we have our attributes there set up for there, and we don't want bilinear, we want point. I want to click on apply, and then we might have to change the materials here, so I'm going to add a new folder here called materials, and materials is going to have a new sprite material. It's going to be pixel perfect sprite, and then I'm going to base this on sprites, and then it's going to be default, but over here we've got pixel snap. I want to set that to be on. We also have a tint as well, and my plan is I want to be able to change that. So all the sprites are going to be white basically, and we're going to apply tints to them. So Wally week is going to be yellow, some of the platforms will be cyan, that kind of thing. So if I go back over to our art and then I drag out the test card, you'll see the test card is actually, it's huge, it takes up the whole of the screen. And when we go to the game, we're only seeing a small portion of that. But if I zoom out and we make the size smaller, you can see that this goes down to here. Now, if I make this, I think it's 192, that makes it too small. So we'll make that 256. Way too small, 192. I think it's half of it. So whatever half of 192 is. There you go, 96. Is that right? I think that's right. And that gives us the exact same, so the size that we want. You can see why I made it the test card image, because it's a test. So that's just a way that I can make sure that everything's going to fit on the screen as well. And while we're here, we might as well change the background color as well. So the background color is a solid color, so we're just going to change that to 0, and that's going to be like the border color of the game. So everything's going to fit inside this area here. And while we're at it, test card there, it's a simple lit one. We're going to change that to pixel perfect, which is going to be this one here, pixel perfect sprite. And our game is now starting. I guess, if we can call it that. It's not really much of a game just now. It's a test card. So that's the sort of start of it. The next thing to do is I want to test and make sure that we can tint each one of the individual images, because oh, actually I made all these. These here should actually be multiple ones. Let's fix that just now. Pardon me. And we want clamp, and we don't want any filter, and we want to apply that. So if we go into here, if I open up the sprite editor, you'll see that we have each one of these is 8 by 8. Sorry, 16 by 6. These 16 by 16? No, these are 8 by 8 here. So we're gonna have to split these up, and I'll get on with that. In fact, I can do that just now because I can slice it, and then we're gonna do cell count. So we have actually cell size. Let's make it cell size because it's easier that way. 16 by 16, and we click on slice, and then that creates our sliced images. These ones here are going to get split up because these are actually 8 by 8s, but the rest of these, the kettle and all that kind of stuff, those are going to be 16 by 16s. So I'm going to hit apply there, and then do that. And I will also do the same thing for the sprites. So if I go into our sprite editor here, you see that it's 16 by 16 again. So I'm going to do slice by cell size 16, and I'm going to do slice, and that's going to hit all of these, and you can see the car parts and the RIP and all that kind of stuff. So that's working out good for us, and then we'll click on apply, and then we will close that. And I'm not entirely sure how big Wally Week is, but let's see how large he is. So that is probably 16 across by 32 high. Okay, so what we can do is we can slice it by size, so 16 across and 32 high, and click on slice, and there we go. So we have all of the Wally Week characters now in sprite form. There you go. And as I set up our sprites, you can see them all here. That's all the sprites there. There is one other thing I need to do. So we have our test card here, which is at 000, but the test card itself we're going to have to alter because I want it to be the top left hand corner. We're going to have to do that for the rest of the sprites as well, because I've just realized that. So we have our point here, and we can drag it as wherever we want, but we can also do 0, and that should drag it to, oh, I did not do that. Where's it going to go? Oh yeah, okay. We want it to be up here in the top left hand corner. So we click on apply, and then we click on that. We'll now see that the camera is now in the wrong position. So the main camera is now got to go along 128 pixels, because that's exactly half the size of the spectrum screen. The spectrum screen is 256 pixels, so 128, and then it has to move negative 96, and that puts it right back at the start there. So all the top left hand corner there is going to be 0, and that's where we start everything. And the reason why I want to do it that way is because I'm going to create some, I think my plan is just now is to create some scriptable objects that will use these coordinate systems to build the maps out. And for that reason, I'll show you what's happening next. Okay, I think I have enough to demonstrate what I want to do here. Right, so the first step is to create a scriptable object that will describe the scene to us, which means we're going to have to create another couple of scriptable objects and then reference those as well. And we'll do that just now. So let's create a scripts folder here, and we'll call it scripts. And then inside here, I'll create another folder called scriptable objects, and we'll create another mono behavior here, and then this one we'll call object position, object placement. No, naming things is difficult. Object placement, this is where we want to store the reference to the prefab and also the position in there. So we want to have screen object position. Let's call it screen object position. We've got to call it something, haven't we? And it's not going to extend from mono behavior, it's going to extend from scriptable object. Which means you can get rid of all these. And we're going to have a private, and then this is going to be our game object. So it's going to be our prefab, serialized field, private vector 2 position, like so. And that's basically all our scriptable object is. Our next scriptable object is going to be a collection of these, and that's going to be like our scene description. Oh yeah, we also need to do the create asset menu. And the file name for this is just going to be green object, and then the menu is going to be Automania, and then screen object. What else we need? There we go. Let's tidy that up. So now what we can do is we can go to in here, and we'll create our create a folder called maps, and then we'll call this level 1, and then let's call it common. Create folder common, and then we'll call this one create, and then we should have Automania screen object, and we'll call this ceiling. So ceiling is always going to be the same prefab. So we go to our prefabs, and then our yeah, I did save it as that, didn't I? Workshop floor. Okay. And the position of the workshop floor is going to be 0, 0 as well. And then that's the workshop floor, isn't it? Workshop floor. Oh, that's not right. Was it rafters? Nope. Oh, girder floor. That's the one I'm looking for. Oh wow, that's wrong. What happened here? Girder floor. That ain't right. It should be this one. There we go. Okay. So that should fix that. Okay. So let's go back to our scriptable objects. Nope. Maps, common, ceiling, and then it should be the girder floor. Okay, so girder floor is the right one. And then the workshop itself is going to be at the floor. Where are we? Is also going to be this one as well. So we'll go to our common again, and then we'll just duplicate that there. But instead of we'll call that hoist floor. So instead of hoist floor being at the same position as this, we're going to have to change it to, and it's going to be 176 minus 8, so that's 168 on the y coordinate. Also, we're going to create another empty object here, and then this is going to be our map root. So our map root is actually at minus 16 because, oh, in fact, the hoist floor is going to be at minus 168 actually, because we're going down the screen. So it's going to be minus 168. And that's our ones there. And then for our this one here, where are we? Scriptable objects. We also need our create one behavior script, and then this is going to be our map screen. So we need two maps for this. Or do we need two maps on this, or do we just describe them in two separate ways? I think we have them as two separate maps. And then I think that way we can duplicate them and then change them quite quickly. I think that's probably a good way to go. Not that we're gonna we can edit and all, can move it, all that kind of stuff. But I'm mumbling now. But what we want to have is the hoist map screen. Yeah. And then we want to have field private, and then this is going to be our scene. No, what do we call them? Screen object. Position, and then this is going to be our common elements, and then serialized field. And then this is going to be our objects. So that's our common elements are going to be in there, and our objects are going to be in there. And the objects are going to change pretty much across all things. So do we need to have a list of our common elements there? Well, actually, no, we do, because otherwise we're going to have to keep adding those elements when we make duplicates of this. So we'll do our create asset menu, file name equals hoist map screen, hoist map, and that's going to be Automania hoist map. And the chances are we'll create one of these and then we'll just duplicate them, because we're going to always have to have like multiple ones of these. Right. Right. And then hoist map screen. And then we're going to have a workshop screen as well. So I'm going to do create workshop map screen, and this is also going to be a scriptable object. Hoist map screen, which is basically the same thing as this. But it might be different because we need to have sprites and things in here as well, so it will be slightly different. We'll probably have to have it in there as well, so maybe hoist map screen is a scriptable object as well. In fact, we're going to have a common map screen here, aren't we? Add. Do we need this? No, I think we do. And we need to have another one as well. Create item. So this is going to be our level. Scriptable object, or just call it level. And level, and using Unity engine. Yep. And this is going to have our hoist screen, hoist map screen, and this is going to have our warehouse workshop map screen. Oh, what happened there? Hoist map screen, level, workshop map screen. Okay, just jumping around here, sorry about this. Workshop map screen, and then this is going to have our workshop map screen map. And then our level is going to have our level, and it is going to be our level. And get rid of that. Okay. And then we're going to go back to here, and it'll all be, hopefully, great. And then we're going to create our Automania level, and we'll call this level 1. And level 1 will have a hoist map screen, and then level 2 will also have a map screen. So we'll do create Automania hoist map screen, and we'll call this level 1 hoist, and we will create a L1 workshop, and level 1 will contain the workshop, and it will contain the hoist screen, and our hoist screen will contain common elements. And right now the common elements are empty, but what we can do is we can drag in our ceiling and floor. And so now when we create this, we can then just go through and instantiate these objects. So I will create a create empty, and we'll call this room builder. And let me create another script here, and I'm going to create a folder here, and I'm going to call it room builder. Oh no, what am I doing? Scripts. Yeah, I wanted to create a script here, a folder here. So this is going to be level housekeeping. Actually, let's just call it housekeeping. So I'll call it housekeeping, and then I'm going to put in here level. I've called it room builder there. I'm going to call it level builder. Level builder. Let me change this to level builder as well. Level builder. Level builder. And our level builder is going to have a reference to our levels. And that's going to be our level. levels. And so we don't have to worry about loading in things and all that kind of stuff. It's all going to be done for us. So now we can go to our level builder and then drag in our level 1. So now we have level 1. And then we'll have a private int current level. And then on start, what we're going to do is we're going to go and grab the first level. So our level, our current level equals levels current level. Actually, let me do serialize field. Because we might want to change this and we might want to build these things in here. So what I'm going to do is do for each our this is going to be our, what do we call this? Screen object position. In level dot oh, I don't have any public fields, do I? Well, that was kind of stupid, wasn't it? Should have done that. So really, we don't want to make these private. We just want to make them public, don't we? So that was kind of dumb on my part. Yeah. Right, let's go back through and change these to public. Alrighty. Public. And these can be public as well. Hopefully this doesn't break anything. Public and public. Alright. Okay. Objects. Oh. Too many. Okay. Now that we got that there, hopefully that shouldn't have broken anything. Okay, it did not break anything. Alright, cool. So now back in our code, we can go to our level builder and dot common elements. Hoist map screen. Oh right, okay, yeah, we need to know what screen we're on, don't we? We'll figure that out later on, but let's just get this dot common elements. Let's describe these common elements here. In fact, what we might do is might swap out. Yeah, okay. I think I know what we might need to do. So I think what we can do is let's have this as our hoist room root, and then our warehouse room root, and then that's going to be at 256. So that's going to be way over on this other side here. And then on our room builder, we're going to have serialize field, transform hoist root, transform warehouse room root. So for each of these, we're going to then say var game object equals instantiate object position dot prefab, and then the parent is going to be our hoist room root, and then we're going to say go.transform.local position equals object position dot position. And what that should do is that should take all the information that's in level 1. So level 1, we've got our hoist map. So we go to the hoist and we see that we have a ceiling and we have a hoist floor. And it should deliver. Fingers crossed. There we go. And that's us got our 2 elements there. Although they're not at the right place because they should actually be further down there. They should be down at the bottom here. So that is let me just do play focused. So that is a little bit of a problem. So the hoist room root is -16. So where are these coming in at? Oh, they're not being set as the Oh, that's not good. Why is that happening? Stash 8 hoist room root. Oh, because it's not been set, that's why. Oh, hoist room root is going to be that one, and then the warehouse room root is going to be that one. Okay, and then that will then solve that problem. There we go, and then that gives us our two 8x8, 2 8 pixel high rows. So that's 16 pixels at the top there for the score and all that kind of stuff. And that's what we've got so far. So the next thing to do is put in the hoist, and it's like, well, where are we going to put that hoist? Well, the hoist is actually at this position here. So if we zoom in, this is the map screen here. So we have our conveyor belts. I'll need to alter them. I'll need to create another copy of the top one there. But other than that, the hoists are at, and if I use this handy dandy tool here, it tells me that it is, the start is 96,120. So if I go back here and I go to our hoist room there, I can add another one, and oh, I don't want that. Common, yeah, okay. I want to create a new screen object, and this one is going to be the hoist, and then the hoist is going to be our hoist there, and that's going to be at 96 minus 120. Okay, and then I go back to level 1, and then our, see, I think yeah, doesn't really matter. Common one is going to be our hoist. Okay, so this should now do our hoist in the middle of the proceedings. There we go. So we have our hoist in there. So this is all coming together quite nicely. Although there's some weird artifacts there in the middle. I think that's just probably scaling. There's a trick we can do with cameras that we'll get to later on in this. But that's essentially it. So I'm going to go and fill in the rest of this. And if you look in the source code, if you go to the GitHub, so codehouse.com, the link is in the show notes below, you'll see the full source code for this. And the first one will be the complete level of this particular hoist, and it will show that what you should see is like a black and white version of this level here. It's not going to have the sprites in it, but it will have the ladders and it will have the door, and I'll put in the rafters as well. And that's it for me. If you like this video and you want to see more like this, then hit the subscribe button and notification bell. And if you liked it, then hit the thumb button thing, button. It's been a long day. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks guys. Bye bye.